Good evening and welcome to the October 20th meeting of the Norfolk Select Board. I'm joined this evening by my colleagues Kevin Roach and Thais Hickman, and we're being recorded. I should say that. All right, we're being recorded. And our interim town administrator, Mike Gallagher, and Amanda Johan. So we usually start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And then we start, our meeting with public comment, where citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on any matter that affects the town. We will not, just for the clarification, we will not engage in dialogue with public comment, but we will consider remarks that are made. So do we have any public comment at this time? Nobody online? Nobody in the audience for public comment? All right, so I'm not at 7:05.
You can start the 7 o'clock one.
Okay, at 7 o'clock. Awesome. So item number 2 is a public hearing. So I am going to read the public hearing notice just for, to make it official. Is that okay? Yes. So the Select Board for the Town of Norfolk will conduct a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 82, Section 22 of the Massachusetts General Laws. The Norfolk Select Board intends to lay out as a town way a portion of MacArthur Avenue as depicted on the plan, the as-built acceptance plan, MacArthur Avenue. During normal business hours, the as-built acceptance plan may be viewed at Town Clerk's Office, Norfolk Town Hall, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Massachusetts, 02056. The Town of Norfolk intends to acquire by eminent domain for public way purposes and rights, including and without limitation in the form of an easement and/or fee interest in the land with the layout of MacArthur Avenue and/or abutting lots. This hearing is conducted today, Monday, October 20th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in Meeting Room 124, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass., as well as via Zoom online video conferencing remote access. Is that good? So I'm going to turn it over.
You need to entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I would accept a motion that we vote to open the public hearing regarding the board's intention to lay out a portion of MacArthur Avenue for acceptance at the November 12, 2025 annual town meeting.
I can vote to open the meeting. I just have to abstain. No, yes, I make a second. I second the motion.
You can move inside.
As so moved.
Second?
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So moved. And second? Yes. All right. All those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. No, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Gallagher.
So, Madam Chair, you're now in the public comment piece of your meeting. This is the public hearing. This item is Article 11 on the upcoming special town meeting. It is an article to do a I guess, for lack of a better term, a friendly taking of a piece of roadways for the town to allow for snow removal and other items. Rich McCarthy from the Planning Department is here and can actually speak to this better than I can. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that is Article 11 in the upcoming special town meeting.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Just in terms of a little background for the board and the public at large, MacArthur Avenue, except for its little section that we'll be talking about tonight relative to the public hearing, is a paper street that originally was laid out from a plan, I think it was 45 or 46. In order to obtain a building permit under the zoning bylaw, someone would have to have actual physical access to their property in order to obtain a building permit. So Franz Burke, who purchased the property that abuts the section of MacArthur Ave that we're talking about, went before the planning board as under a roadway improvement plan. And part of that roadway improvement plan was to create that T that's at the end, which is on MacArthur Ave, which abuts Hunter Avenue. And as part of that process through the planning board was to make it become just that section of it, which is fully constructed, a public way. So that way, there is a section that still needs to be accepted, so it's public, and then a little segment that isn't, which is not for tonight, but we do need to take care of that, because it still is hanging out there. Hunter Ave originally, the main part of Hunter Ave was accepted in 1954, so it's before I came to be on this, in this world. But anyway, the reason why it's to be proposed as a public way is to provide actual physical access for the public. When you get to the end, you can, back up, turn around, come back, as opposed to just prior to this construction being done, it was just a dead end. They're essentially going to the end, no place to turn around. In addition to that, the DPW, when they plow snow, will have a place to push the snow going forward. So like I said, it is constructed by the developer. It's going through the eminent domain process, which is a little bit different than typically, because there is, like I mentioned, it was a 45, 46 plan. There's interested parties that abut the property, the MacArthur Ave, that we have to have them agree, which I sent a letter to them earlier this year, to essentially waive any damages to become a public way for this section that section that we're talking about from MacArthur Avenue. The preliminary discussions from the abutters that I sent the letters to earlier was they didn't necessarily have an issue with waiving damages. However, this is one step on the road. We get to town meeting, and if town meeting votes to accept it, they always could come after town meeting and say, so we won't know absolutely, but so far, no one has shown objection to that. And it's critical that they waive damages, because otherwise we'd have to hire an appraiser, come up with a damages amount. In this case, it's negligible damages, because it's just a section of it. So in terms of why it's before you is to hopefully vote to recommend it to town meeting to accept as a public way. And then if that's done tonight, goes to town meeting, and then after that, we have to go through the process to get the vote recorded along with that plan that's referenced in your packet. It'll need to be signed off by the select board, which would happen after town meeting. Same thing with the planning board. So I'll pause if any questions. I didn't answer your question.
Okay, I have to abstain for voting.
That's
because
true.
I am in a butter to this.
Yes,
So,
correct.
question, is there going to be any way to identify this road as a roadway so it doesn't get used as a parking lot for this house?
Great question. And as far as I know, it
It is a public road.
is a public road. The police department potentially might have to police it if they don't park. There is a turnout, there is a spot for them to pull off, which is not, granted, it's not very big, it's 2 spaces, but.
Well, the whole problem is if they start using it as a driveway, then it comes snow time and they have to plow it. They have to go knocking on the doors and telling people to move the cars out of the roadway so they can plow.
It could be an issue down the road, yeah, I wouldn't say it potentially can't be. But it'd probably be, I guess, the select board normally just declare a snow emergency so people don't park on the public ways prior to a storm.
Well,
you could be towed.
Well, yeah, but sort of, but this is a particular circumstances where people don't normally park in the road. And where this is set up, this is almost like it's their driveway.
How many homes are back there?
One.
There's one. Okay, so,
They got a little tiny driveway in all this access and everything else. And the people, when they're gonna move in, they're gonna feel that that's their driveway and they can park wherever. And it's gonna be a problem. So I'd like to eliminate the problem before it starts. So maybe even if highway puts up on the side of the road, if they put the yellow line going down the middle like it's a road, they wouldn't open Seekonk Street until they had the yellow line going down the road. So if they paint the yellow line on this road to show it's a road and put no parking signs, what's 4 signs gonna cost to put up on the road, no parking?
Yeah, probably in this case, because it's really a hammerhead, it probably would make more sense to just post it for no parking,
Okay.
as opposed to striping it,
Yeah.
because you're gonna be striping and going into a T, which you're gonna be, it's used to be able to turn around, back around. So I can certainly speak to DPW about posting it,
Yep.
no parking. That's a reasonable
Right.
to do that.
And still, because MacArthur, where I lived there, I'm on call for the police. MacArthur has, I realized it was a paper trail, but it was still an accessible exit for me to get out and get out to Priscilla and leave my neighborhood. Because there's been 3 instances where I've had trees down the street and I couldn't get out.
A little tougher now, because it drops off, yeah, I agree.
Yes, it is a little tougher,
It's
but
definitely a little tougher. Although I actually understand, and maybe you probably experienced it too, but there's been less delivery vehicles going bombing down MacArthur Ave through the woods than there was before,
yes,
which, you know, I think if you're,
it's beneficial, yes. We didn't,
Yeah,
it
if you-
didn't appreciate them driving through the woods in the backyards and just making ruts and digging it all up and
Yeah.
getting stuck in the wintertime and all that.
especially I know people do walk their dogs and stuff,
Yeah.
you know, up in that area to bombing along, and then all of a sudden you're confronted with a delivery truck. So it's plus and minus, I agree. I mean, there is no perfect solution, but I think the concept of posting it for no parking makes sense
Yep.
to do that.
So just out of curiosity, now that you're saying that, the gravel area that you're talking about for parking, that is part of the paper road, isn't it? Isn't that where the paper road feeds in down to Priscilla?
Yes.
Am I, yes,
Yes.
because I've walked up there. So
Yeah.
that's part of the paper road, so that won't be a parking area for them either.
No, there's a, if you, I don't know if it's shown on the ad.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a,
It's rip rock, so it's pretty big rock, and they won't be parking their vehicle there, but
No.
it is, if I had to get on there in the truck and emergency access, I could.
You could.
yeah. And actually, that was one of the things that we made an adjustment through the process. So one of the, I know Mr. Farrar's on the corner there, he had requested to remove some of the riprap so people could walk. So
Right,
there's-
there was a lady with her handicapped daughter that walked down that road there and couldn't get through because the rock was so gravel.
Yeah, so there is smaller rock now that you get
Right.
through. It's better. But to your point, there is a little turnout, I mean, not turnout, but there is a, granted, 2 vehicles can
Yep.
park there straight in. Not, kind of limited in terms of where you could park there.
Well, but that's what the guy chose to build for a driveway for the house he's selling.
Yes.
He shouldn't have been relying on this road anyhow. Every
No.
house, when you build a house, you have a driveway, so.
Correct. Yes.
Awesome. Do you have any questions?
No, but I do recall actually driving up there now that I'm thinking about it, and I had a hard time getting out of there, so,
Yeah.
Before the pavement was in or after?
after,
Even after?
turning around,
Oh, wow.
yeah, anyway.
Should try to go up there before that.
And then it is a public hearing, so is there any public comment? None online and none in person? All right, so is there any further discussion?
No.
No? So I would accept a motion to close the public hearing at the, regarding the board's intention to lay out a portion of MacArthur Avenue for acceptance at the November 12, 2025 annual town meeting.
Second. Oh,
So moved, yeah, I can.
Oh, he
yeah.
has, so second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And no further discussion. And then I would accept a motion that the board that we vote to lay out a portion of MacArthur Avenue substantially in the location of the private way known as MacArthur Avenue per the plan marked as-built acceptance plan MacArthur Avenue, Norfolk, Massachusetts, dated September 25th, 2025 by Truax Engineering Group.
second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
Abstain.
Thank you, Rich.
Or I'll be back.
Thanks, Rich.
Now there's more reading, just a second. And then our next item, do you want to start us off, and then I'll...
You can just go ahead and go into
I will
that.
go ahead. We're going to have another public hearing requested for cable switching location on Lawrence Street. So I would, so I should open the meeting before I read it. Open the
You can do
hearing.
it either way.
Okay. Well, why don't I just read it then so people know what we're opening? The public hearing notice is the Select Board for the Town of Norfolk will conduct a public hearing, which is right now, in accordance with Chapter 166, Section 22 of the Massachusetts General Laws on a petition from N-Star Electric Company, D/B/A Eversource Energy, to grant petitioners a grant of location to install approximately 19 feet of conduit at manhole number 30554 and install cable switching station CS-PMH28843, wires and cables together with anchors, guys, and other such sustaining and protecting fixtures as they may find necessary. The purpose of this installation is to provide support for the upgrade of one-phase to three-phase for electric improvements in accordance with the plan made by K. Rice dated September 11, 2025, filed herewith upon, along, and across the following public way or ways of said town. And it's Lawrence Street, westerly, approximately 183 feet northeast of Cranberry Meadow Road. Also, for permission to lay and maintain underground laterals, cables, and wires in the above or intersecting public ways for the purpose of making connections with such poles and buildings as said petitioners may desire for distributing purposes. Petitioners agree to reserve space for one crossarm at a suitable point upon each of said poles for the telephone, fire, and police signal wires belonging to the town and used by it for municipal purposes. This hearing will be conducted today, Monday, October 20th, 2025, at 7:05 PM in Meeting Room 124, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass., as well as via Zoom, online video conferencing, remote access. So I would accept a motion. To open the public hearing for the cable switching station petition on Lawrence Street.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now I will pass it over to you, Mr. Gallagher.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a petition that came into the town regarding from N-Star to install a switching system. Apparently, it's currently single-phase, and they want to update that to a three-phase as part of the whole sustainability, the stretch code for the town for the purposes of actually developing an area. I don't know if anyone is here tonight representing N-Star.
They're on Zoom.
Oh, okay, great. So I guess at this point, we would turn it over to N-Star to do their presentation, and then we can hear from the public.
Cool. Welcome.
Hi, yes, this is Christine Crosby from Eversource, and we are petitioning for a greater location to install approximately 19 feet of conduit at the existing manhole 30554, and then to also install the cable switching station, and it'll be stenciled as PMH 28843, and the purpose of that is to upgrade the single-phase service out there to a three-phase service for electric improvements.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak to this? It is a public hearing, so we welcome the public to come forward if they have questions or concerns. I have no questions or concerns. Do you? Any further discussion? So I'm going to close the public hearing. I would accept a motion to close the public hearing for the cable switching station petition on Lawrence Street.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then I would accept a motion for us to vote to grant permission to N-Star Electric Company, D/B/A Eversource Energy, to install approximately 19 feet of conduit at manhole number 30554 and install cable switching station CS-PMH28843 on the westerly side of Lawrence Street, approximately 183 feet northeast of Cranberry Meadow Road.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Number 4.
Madam Chair, you had a public hearing scheduled this evening, your third public hearing, and this one was a dog hearing regarding a potential nuisance dog. Through some negotiations with the complainant and also the dog owner, we think we have some resolution to that whole situation, so there'll be no need to have that public hearing. However, I did invite your dog officer here, Hillary Cohen, to talk to you about what's gone on and just kind of give you a high level of what's transpired in the last 48 to 96 hours.
Thank you. So, just a brief rundown. There is no previous history with this animal having a history of running loose or aggression that we were alerted to. In this incident, there was no physical injury to the complainant victim. I was asked by the interim town administrator if there was a way that we could find a resolution prior to coming to hearing. And we were able to come to an agreement this morning for an agreement that would be in place that does not have a designation of either nuisance or dangerous, but it does display, it will display the two sides of what would make the one neighbor comfortable walking past the residence, and also that the dog owner has agreed to these stipulations. Obviously, if this is not followed, we would come back to the hearing and have the hearing held. I just think in this circumstance that it was a reasonable working together to find a solution before going to the drastic nature of having a full hearing to determine nuisance, dangerous, or dismiss the complaint.
Thank you. I feel like anytime neighbors can work things out with neighbors, I appreciate your help in being the catalyst for that agreement, so thank you very much. Do you have any questions or concerns? Any questions or concerns?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to thank the two parties involved and Hillary for, we were on the phone.
It was
Back
a
and forth
sprint
all
at the
weekend.
end,
Yeah, I know.
but it was
Back
a
and forth
marathon all the way up and a sprint at the end, but
So, thank
hopefully
you.
we will not need to come back.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your
Thank you. So
efforts.
nice to see you.
You too.
So that leads us to number 5.
Madam Chair, the folks from the Lions reached out to us. Apparently it rained the day that they were planning on doing the bench dedication. So they would like to change that from October 12th, 2025 to Saturday, October 25th, 2025, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Excellent.
Hopefully the weather will hold out
I was
this
going to say,
time
they
for
should have
them.
included a rain date because they've been on the agenda a couple times already.
Yeah, from what I hear, the weather's supposed to be significantly better this weekend than
Awesome.
the last, so.
Awesome. Any questions or concerns?
No.
I would entertain a motion to approve a date change for the Lions bench dedication on Town Hill from Sunday, October 12th, 2025 to Saturday, October 25th, 2025 from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m.
I'm going to have to abstain because I'm the vet farm of the Lions.
So moved.
And second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. And
Madam Chair, your next item is the review and to review and execute the special town meeting warrant to be held on November 12th, 2025. We've finalized all of the pieces here. We're actually down to 14 articles from 15. One of those was withdrawn by the planning board. So we're now down to 14 articles. If you want, we can go through them very quickly. The first one is to hear reports from town committees. Second article is for prior year unpaid bills, which we have none, still have none. Hopefully we'll still be in that situation at town meeting. Third article is to do some budget transfers. We have a few that we have requested. They were included in your packet. There's a spreadsheet that I had Todd fill out for us so that we can actually track where those monies are coming from. We have a couple of items that were acquired. We're going to actually utilize about just under $500,000 of our free cash that's been certified. We have 2.9 million that's been certified in free cash. 405,000 of that is going to go back into the stabilization fund, and that was used to actually balance the budget for fiscal year 26. Excuse me, we had additional funds that came in from the state. I think I mentioned this at your last meeting. It was about $77,000. Schools and I, school superintendent and I went back and forth on that. And to their credit, her subcommittee came back and said, well, can we just take the net additional state aid and put that into the special education stabilization account? I thought that was a wonderful compromise.
Really elegant.
And
Yep.
I credit them for doing that and for actually having those conversations with me. And I want to thank the superintendent publicly for her efforts in that whole regard. The $77,000 would have put us in a little bit of a predicament to try to fund the additional funds, but find the additional funding. But I do appreciate that. Next item is to move $20,150 to the recreation salaries account. We know that we had the recreation director is going to be retiring in January, so we ran the numbers to see what she had for accrued vacation time and sick time, and that's the dollar amount is $20,150. It will be paid out on her way out the door. So we wanted to make sure that we had that funding in place so that we didn't have to wait to hire someone back into that role, because we just wouldn't have the funding for it. Next item is $15,873 to the Metacomet emergency assessment. This had to do with when the Metacomet, the MEC, gave us their budget. They used a number for health insurance that was kind of an estimate based on where they were currently and where their numbers were from the prior year. As everybody knows, health insurance costs are going up exponentially. They finally got their numbers after we had done our budget, so there's an additional $15,873 needed to close that gap between what they had given us originally that we budgeted for and what we actually need to give them so that they can operate appropriately. And then the last item is Norfolk County Agricultural. We originally budgeted for 12 students, and we have 13, so we need an additional $11,501, which from a per pupil expenditure is not bad. That's actually a pretty decent number. So that's what we will be doing in Article 3 for use of free cash.
Excellent. I'm pleased to, go ahead.
Sorry, is there a reason that the police radio and the debits for the police radios are not in Article 3? Are they somewhere else?
They're in Article 4.
Okay,
So
sorry.
there's another article. So that one was to supplement budgets and to move money back using our free cash. Article 4, if you will, Madam Chair, I'll just move on to Article 4. Article 4 is for capital.
Okay, thank you.
Capital projects. We're using $296,841 in free cash and another $32,292 from the ambulance receipts fund. The majority of that, the $296,841, will fund a radio infrastructure and portable radio replacement project for the police department. This is a public safety matter, and it's the only capital article that I'm bringing forward at this time, and I feel it was appropriate just because of the nature of the issue. We've had situations where the radios have had momentary outages and actually caused one incident that was a little uncomfortable. Thankfully, no one was injured, but our police officer was off the air chasing a suspect into the woods, and that's not a place you want any of your staffing to be. So when I heard that, I felt it important that we bring that item to town meeting and fund that at this point in time. The radios, just so you know, the infrastructure has gone end of life, so the switching and repeating and all those pieces are all end of life, and the radios have had multiple issues to the point where officers have actually bought their own radios, which we don't want to have that happen. We just don't want that in our
When I met with Chief Hines, actually, he had me listen to some of the radio calls, and they said even in court cases, they have a hard time using what they're recording in court because it's such a jumbled, it's hard to hear what's going on. So I think that's an important purchase for us. And just to go back, I wanted to say I'm pleased, so pleased to be putting that money back into stabilization. It was a reach to take it to cover our King Philip expenses, so I'm pleased to have that money going back in.
And then the last item on that, in that article, is an ambulance. It's a change order. So the power cot for the ambulance, the old one is no longer, can't buy the parts for it. So you can't buy the pieces that allow the power cot to go in and out of the ambulance. They had to put a whole new system in. We had funding in the ambulance receipts account, so we're going to use money out of the ambulance receipts reserved account to pay for that. I thought that was an appropriate use of that funding. So that's where we're at for Article 4. And as I mentioned in this spreadsheet that you have, we've laid out all of the funds, all of the sources of the funds, where we're expending them, and then the bottom lines on how much are left in each of those accounts for transparency's sake. So we'll be handing these out at town meeting so that everybody has one in their hand, because in my tenure in other communities, the first question everybody wants to know is how much did we have, what are we spending it on, and what do we have left?
And where, yep.
So I think this spreadsheet kind of answers all
Brilliant.
that. It gives you a high-level view of the current financial position of the town.
So just to clarify or confirm, our ending balance in free cash will be the 2.125 million?
Correct. That'll be your ending balance in free cash that you'll have as you go into your fiscal year 2027 budget process and you go into your annual town meeting. And at that point, depending upon what you're using your funds for, you can certainly do some more capital items out of this, and hopefully you won't need it. Hopefully you won't need it to balance the budget.
Very dire situation last year, so this is good.
Yeah, I didn't want to go forward and spend a whole bunch of money. It just didn't make any sense, not knowing where we were at. And I think my recommendation would be going forward that you use your special town meeting in November to do special things, and that at your annual town meeting you do all of your capital and operating pieces at that meeting, so that you do your purchasing of police cars, your purchasing of whatever it happens to be, because at that point you know what your free cash position is, just in case. But I would recommend that going forward.
Yep.
Next article is Article 5, which is changes to some of the, this was submitted by the town clerk, to change the fee schedule that comes out of that office. Some things are going away, some fees are going away completely because we just don't use them anymore. So it didn't make sense to continue to hold those on here. And then we also made some changes, increased one of the items, but for the most part, it was taking items off of that fee schedule as opposed to adding them on. There's one for street listing, the street listing book, that's gone from $10 to $25. But other than that, everything is pretty much status quo. Article 6 is the PEG access. So one of the things that I discovered when I started here was that we didn't have a contract with NCTV, and there was no way to, well, there was a way to fund them, but it wasn't being done appropriately. The money was going directly to NCTV. The money actually belongs to the town and should be in the general fund. You, at your last town meeting, voted to create that account. Now we need to figure out how to expend out of that, which is what this article will do. Based on the revenues that we have, we will be expending $188,000 for operating and $15,200 for capital. We get two sources of funds from the cable companies. One of them is the operating piece, and it's on everybody's bill. You're all paying for it, all the subscribers. And then the other is for capital improvement stuff. And those have to be kept substantially separate, so that from a bookkeeping perspective, they need to make sure that they're accounted for separately, because you can't use your capital for operating. So I went the NCTV board has been great. We had a couple of meetings. We talked about all of this. I finally got a copy of their budget, so I know what their income is going to look like from the cable company. They have other sources of income that we really doesn't affect the town at all, but I wanted to see what they had for income from Verizon and Comcast. So that's the 188,000, and then the 15.2 is another subset within the contracts, and that's only coming from one of the providers at the moment.
So may I just restate in my own words what I understand you to be saying is the money used to be coming from the cable companies to NCTV, and we're just tightening it up a little bit. The money should come to the town and then go to NCTV, so we're not taking money off the side, we're just channeling it appropriately in order to be in compliance with law.
That is correct, yeah. The Department of Revenue has stated that those funds belong to the municipality. The contract between Verizon and the contracts with Verizon and Comcast are with the municipality, not with NCTV.
Not with NCTV.
So we need to take the funds in, put them in a separate account, and then pay them out to NCTV.
Thank you. Any questions? No. Okay, thank you.
That just allows us to do that. Article 7 is community preservation request for projects at the Pond Street Recreational Complex, and some engineering design, third-party review, and that's for ADA access to the facilities, and then also to construct pickleball courts within the area. Article 8 is for another CPC article, community preservation article. That's for $44,750 for engineering design. And also third-party review. That's permitting for ADA access within the Freeman Kennedy School fields. We want to make those more accessible. And then Article 9 is another CPC article, and that's for $54,000 to rebuild the railroad track baseball field at the Freeman Kennedy School fields. Article 10 is to see if the town will vote to amend general bylaws. That's coming from the Historical Commission. The Historical Commission wants to increase the demolition permit permit delay, that's the word I'm looking for, from 6 months to 12 months. This article was submitted by the Historical Commission. Article 11 is submitted by the Planning Board, and that's to authorize the Select Board to acquire, purchase, gift, eminent domain, interest in MacArthur Avenue, which we just heard about. Article 12 is to amend the zoning, Norfolk zoning bylaws. Again, this is from the Planning Board, to allow for trailer homes to be put on lots for specific times for people to be able to live on their property while they do renovations or fixes to their homes. Article 13 is affordable housing development. This one is actually, this is for, to amend the zoning bylaws for affordable housing development by adding the following text. So this is adding information or adding more text to the affordable housing piece to allow for Rich, this one allows for which one is this? Article 13?
I think that there was
Is that?
I'm just going to guess, correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe you should come up, but there was a citizen's petition that anything over 20 units would have a 20%.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Number
So
of
this is-
things.
this is to change it
And
back to
It sounded
10%.
good in theory, but it had an opposite effect than what we wanted. Do you want to
Yes.
speak more to it?
So it's just going to bring it down to 10%.
Correct. We're going to bring it back to 10%.
It won't be a sliding scale, it'll just be straight 10%.
No, yeah, correct. With the 21 amendment, the citizen petition went from, it originally was at 10, then dropped to 6, so it went from 6 to 12 at 10%, then 13 to 19 units at 15%, and anything over 20 units was 20%. So this proposed change was to bring it back down to 10%, which was originally prior to that change. It preserved the 6, so it still stayed at 6. And there's a couple other provisions in there that did preserve, but my understanding, I guess, the advisory voted to IP it.
Oh. So
Yeah.
I was going to say, I thought in this one in particular, it's going to be important that we talk about the history because it was a citizen's petition. So if we're changing that, we need to explain the reasoning behind the change because it had an unintended effect on our town, right?
Yes, it has. And so I know I'm coming for an update a little bit later, so
Okay.
maybe I can kind
Talk
of
about it.
marry it in with that a
That's
little
totally
bit?
fine.
Yeah,
Yep, that's fine.
okay.
And then the last article is a citizen's petition, and that was to increase the select board from 3-member to 5-member. There's an issue with that article, but we'll hammer that out at town meeting. But that's the warrant we need tonight. We need a vote from the board to accept the warrant and to move this item forward so that we can actually print the warrants and get them out, get them posted, and get them out to everyone.
Celeste, do you have any discussion before we do that?
So Article 14, it says it's not actionable as drafted, but it's still going out in the warrant.
It has to be in the warrant because it was a citizen's petition. We can't just take it off the warrant unless he withdrew it. And the proponent has not done that, so it has to move forward. Even though there's an issue with the way it's worded and advisory is not recommending it, but we still need to put it on there
But
because it was a
is the
citizen's petition.
person going forward trying to get the language corrected, so you don't know? Okay.
Okay.
I do know that the moderator reached out to the petitioner
Yep.
to work with the petitioner, and I'm not sure where that stands.
Okay.
Okay.
You're welcome.
So I would accept a motion to approve the warrant. and-
Actually, execute the warrant for a special
Execute.
town meeting.
All right, let me get to my words so I'm saying it correctly. I move that the board execute the warrant for the special town meeting to be held on November 12th, 2025.
So moved.
Sorry, I said it wrong.
Oh,
It's okay.
That's
You can move-
okay.
You can move articles.
Just so moved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are we good? Do we have a second? Are we, we're,
No,
okay.
we've already voted.
We've
So we're
already
good.
voted.
Yeah.
All right.
We're good. We're good, Madam Chair.
Awesome, we're moving that on. And then we're going to turn it over to Rich, who's just going to give us an update on the state of things in Norfolk.
Yes, thank you. Good to see you again. So I think where I would start out kind of coincides with that article that the planning board put forth to revise down the inclusionary bylaw. And so the context of that is that, as you know, we have septic in town of Norfolk. It's just a little bit in the center of town, but really, essentially, it's 100% septic in town. And under Title V, the maximum flow on a piece of property is just under 10,000 gallons a day. When you go above 10,000 gallons a day, that triggers where you would then have to create a packaged treatment plant for on-site, which essentially it's a big septic system, right? And so when you couple those factors, when you think about that, that's kind of driving development decisions in town.
Yeah.
And when you drive development decisions with that in mind, it ends up scaling development significantly larger than I think many folks in town would want to see, because the cost to permit, design, construct, and operate these plants is expensive, multi-million-dollar project. And DEP doesn't have really presently a scaling up. It's you're there and then you just shoot up. So for towns like Norfolk and others, it really kind of changes the dynamic with development. So bear that in mind. I'm going to start with Pondville Crossing, which was the developer had, not to go too far back, but anyway, they had come in, they wanted to go under the multifamily bylaw that the town had in place and it still exists today. But they needed a little bit more of a density increase than what we allowed under the zoning bylaw. So they were interested in see if the town would increase that density a little bit where they could maybe get to like 60 units. And they wanted to do rental housing because they felt like, as you know, there's not much rental housing in town. and that they could do that and make it work financially. And then the inclusionary bylaw came in 2021, and it really changed the dynamics of that, because now, everything's scaled up. Because of that 20%, they couldn't do the numbers they would want to have a rental. It just wasn't going to feasibly work. So they pursued and they went before mass housing. They have a project eligibility letter for 200 units as a 40B development, which is a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. And we have been working with them to see that, is there a way to scale things back that would, work for them, but also work better for the community, and more particularly the Pondville community, because there's Pondville Crossing, which I'm talking about now. We'll talk about Pondville Station, which is right next to it. And then there's some other properties along Valley Street that, at least one other one that's proposed for townhouse-style development. But again, that bylaw was played a part in that.
Rich, sorry, is the developer the same for all 3 of these projects?
No, they're different.
Okay.
They're all different. And then you probably saw that right of first refusal not too long ago for the Stall property that was on Everett Street. And they were pretty clear right in the letter. It's like, well, we're considering a 40B, right? So looking at that really kind of set the stage what we're potentially looking at Pondville. So in regards to Pondville Crossing, and we said, if we got it under the MBTA zoning, which we had done previously in '24, did include their property, would you consider going the route of MBTA zoning, which would bring it down to 140 right off the bat? And they seriously considered it. And then we went to Maytown meeting, we got it passed, and then I spoke to the Linharts, or the principals behind Pondville Crossing, last week, and their plan is to pursue the MBTA zoning. And the last hurdle that we kind of need to work around, essentially, to get the density down, was this whole wastewater issue. So what we creatively discussed with them is they'll have there'll be one project, but on 4 different parcels. So all in one, there'll be multiple LLCs, but anyway, it'll act as one project. So that way they go down to below that 10%, 10,000 gallons a day. They'll all be on-site systems, and then that wastewater treatment plant is off the table. So we don't need to try to figure that out, because we're racking our brains, honestly, to see how we can make this all work. So
just a clarifying question. So instead of going with sewer, then they'll have septic in each one of the lots?
It still would have been septic. It's just, it's a package treatment plant.
Okay.
So for us, there's no pipes. It's all groundwater discharge in terms of that package treatment plant, when I say that. It's going to be the same, but it's going to be split up.
Different.
Right.
Yeah. And
they'll be able to bring the density down by creatively dividing the property up, because the property will meet the zoning requirements. So it's kind of a creative solution, I think, to get to 140, which is good, I think, in the larger picture, because it reduces impact, the scale, but also gets to what they originally wanted to do, which was more 1 and 2 bedrooms. So they felt that was a need in the area overall, 1 and 2 bedrooms, for a variety of different reasons. First-time people, transfer, maybe circumstances change your household, and so forth. So it works, I think, both ways, actually, from the town perspective and then their perspective. So that's proceeding.
Have they broken ground yet?
No, they still got to permit it through MBTA, so they haven't permitted this yet. I'm just giving you the kind of the context of it. Okay. I would expect, I expect it's probably too strong, but anticipate towards the end of the year that they would permit it through the MBTA zoning. They're working through some of the legal aspects of make sure they have the proper legal entities to be able to do this separately, but then all together as well. So I think that's, to me, it feels, I think, a success story, right? So that's one project. Now, abutting it is Pondville Station, which is 59 units on 2.1 acres, again, just under that 10,000 gallons per day. That's a combination of 34 one-bedrooms, 19 two-bedrooms, and 6 three-bedrooms.
And those ones are for sale, not rentals, right?
That's rental. It's a total of 59. Those are rental.
And the other one's also going to be rental, the
They'll be
140?
rental.
Okay.
Yeah, the one before that'd be rental. There's still a chance, I would say, that they may work with this developer and maybe there's some kind of, solution where they end up maybe taking that over and it may end up being MBTA zoning potentially too. Or it could be, it still could remain as a 40B. So in terms of 40Bs, we kind of talked about, that, when it comes to rental, you get to count all the units in terms of towards our 10%, but only 25% are required to be affordable under the regulations. So in one sense, you get more units total towards our subsidized housing inventory, but it's a trade-off, right? So
Would that 200 get us to the 10%?
it would get it to us for just a snip at a time.
Okay.
It's just a real snip at a time. And I know, Sue's, I'm sure, shared with you many times how it's, they go on, but then within a year, you gotta get occupancy permit. You can't build a 200-unit project within a year, so then they fall off.
Yeah.
So you go on and you come off. And when you come off is you're open for other potential projects. And there's still a fair amount of land that's in town despite, it's the harder pieces. So that's why that article that I mentioned earlier was important in terms of try to see if we could have the opportunity to bring things in scale under that 10%. I'm not going to say there's one thing that's the magic formula, but I will tell you when we meet with developers come in and even property owners, when you require a high percent of affordable, which is not a bonus, which is a recommendation of the housing production plan to look at this to provide additional affordable housing as a bonus because it's very expensive to build affordable housing. You're taking away that density, the way the present bylaw is written. So that was the important piece that I think some of it may be missed, but maybe we still have a chance at town meeting. I'd like to try to see the planning board, we can maybe give consideration to it at town meeting in November. Because there's Cranberry Heights, which is it's between Cranberry Meadow Road and Eagle Drive. It was an open space subdivision years ago. It was 21 units with open space around it. And not to get too deep into it, but there was concerns about bringing water up to that development because there is no water on Cranberry Meadow Road or Eagle Drive at the moment. There is on Lawrence Street now, as you know. But bringing that water up, if there was blasting, it might harm the folks that have wells on Cranberry Meadow Road, even Eagle Drive. And the thing is, if you go up there, the houses are quite a ways off the street. So to tie in to town water, if something was wrong with your well, this is a significant cost. So there was concerns from the residents up there. So needless to say, they backed away. And now they came forward, but they came forward as a 40B. So it went from 21 to 51.
Same developer?
Same developer, yeah. And they did say that, if you're going to impose 20%, then I might as well go 5% more and increase my density to offset costs. Because as development's going along, they are capped at 20%, these 40Bs, but because of the cost of construction today, they're not making the percent profits that they used to. So if they can get to 20%, it's kind of a home run, but then they can't even really get to 20% anymore either. That's the challenge with a lot of these development because of, we've gone to stretch code, right? So now we've got, you just kind of add all those costs and so forth. So, so needless to say, that project, we're trying to see if we could steer it back the other way. We'll see how that shakes out, but that's out there in terms of a development project.
So what's the timeline for that one and for Pondville Station? Like, where are we? Are you?
They could come in tomorrow because they have their project eligibility letter. They can come in. We can't hold them off because we're not in safe harbor right now, so the door is open.
So we're just waiting for them to walk through the door.
You know, trying to.
And they already have their permits?
No, they don't have their permits. They have mass housing approval.
Okay.
So the next step would be to file with the zoning board of appeals to try to obtain their permits. It seems like we're steering one a little bit differently. It looks pretty positive in that outlook. I'm not sure about Cranberry Heights. I'm not sure we're going to be able to redirect it, but I certainly know when I feel the phone calls and the folks that live up in those neighborhoods are significantly concerned about that development, the impact onto them. So, I know they check in with them regularly to see the status of it. So that's kind of the residential, kind of what's out there right now.
And are any of these projects mixed use? Like, will they have any retail space? Or
No.
it's totally
None of those.
Could
rental?
I ask a question about the project right over here next to, going up the hill? What was going on with that?
Which hill?
That hill over there?
No,
Which hill?
Yes, this hill.
yeah.
The Meeting House Hill?
Yeah, Meeting House, yeah.
We'll go to that one next. That was the next one I was going to talk about.
Okay.
Yep. So, as you probably know, Pulte had approached the town to do, they want to do multi-story condos, 1-2 bedrooms, with mixed use. So as of right now, it hasn't moved forward, and primarily because the ratio of commercial to residential doesn't work necessarily to be able to really build commercial and fill it up. And it's not just them as well. So we're looking at the rest of the center town zoning. The planning board's working on that for coming up to the spring. The idea is to take a look at the zoning to create some flexibility. We don't have a large town center.
Yeah.
However, we do want to see some commercial, and we do need some residential to support it. So the objective with the planning board with this zoning that they're going to be looking at is create some flexibility for someone to actually make that private investment, still have commercial and some residential, kind of create that balance. So right now, they're essentially on hold because they can't move forward under the present zoning. And there's some other sites too, which I wouldn't want to mention, which is 194 Main Street, which is the former Bork Plaza.
Yep.
That's there. Approached the developer there. They got a permit for 36 townhouses, which would be to demolish the plaza building. They've expressed interest in actually doing some mixed use there. Because under the zoning bylaw, as it relates to mixed use, they could do it, but again, the inclusionary kind of affects the amount of affordable. So if there's some adjustments, they would consider doing mixed use there, which we kind of already know we have in terms of 40B wise, there's 36 units. They could do a combination of potentially commercial and residential. And it's really, and the reason why they would like to do it on the zoning bylaws, because it's really challenging to, on one property, have commercial with residential through a 40B in terms of the whole, it has to be separate ownership and so forth. So if we make adjustments to the B1, they might redesign that one for mixed use, because they're very much interested in doing that. So that's why they haven't proceeded on that. It was approved a few years, I don't know, it's probably 3 years ago now, I think, at least.
So when you say the zoning doesn't work for Meeting House, it's
more
not
the-
zoned for mixed use, or?
No, it is zoned, it's the ratio, so you need
Too much commercial. They couldn't
too
get
much
enough
commercial.
residential.
Okay.
It's 65-35. But what makes it really hard with that ratio is there's a footprint component to it. So really, essentially, it's not feasible. It truly isn't feasible. And that's not new news, I guess, to us, per se, as we've been looking at this over the years. It just really got turned upside down when COVID hit. So, like, the whole commercial landscape has really dramatically changed. So it really became essentially exacerbated. We thought it was tough before, but coming out of COVID, those ratios get even worse. So they can do some commercial, but not to that extent. So the idea of the zoning changes coming up in the spring is to kind of prioritize, so if we're looking to see a little bit more commercial, then maybe a little bit softer on what inclusionary is, so the trade-off, right, to give some flexibility. So that's the idea of the zoning, to try to work with developers, but then property owners too. It's the same thing. They're having the same kind of challenges that want to redevelop. Of course, there is sewer, we could talk about that a little bit, I suppose. I think
Next
Yeah,
question.
that was my next
Yeah.
question for you.
Yeah.
Getting off topic a little bit.
That's okay.
On 115, up where they're putting the solar panels,
Yeah,
there's been no activity for a while. Any particular reason?
yes. The general contractor
Yep.
was not paying the sub.
Okay.
So,
They're getting back on track?
yeah, they are now.
Yeah.
So Next Grid redid the contract, so the site contractor is getting paid directly from Next Grid. It's not going through the subcontractor. So that's back on. So it got delayed. It was been going slow as it was. Now they're catching up. But I don't think you know that. I'm going to share this with you so you know. The two lattice towers that are there, they've applied to put up one monopole to take down those two lattice. So it's a 180-foot monopole for wireless communications. So all of them would come off the two lattices there, and then there'll be additional space on a monopole. Now, with that change, we'll see if they get this or not, but they want to add more solar panels onto that property. Because it wouldn't be...
Are they going to be doing anything out by the street to sort of hide that, or just going to be wide open?
So so as part of the permit, they do have to put evergreens in there to screen it.
Yep.
Now that the site's been disturbed, and actually let me back up. There has been always in the original permit that when they get to the final grid, which they haven't got to yet, obviously, because they haven't graded it all out, the planning board was going to walk the site to see what that rough grade looks like, and then determine if additional screening is warranted. So that was a condition of the permit all along.
Okay.
It's just we haven't got there yet. But clearly, I would say if they come back in now, looking to add more panels, it certainly gives the town a little more
Yeah.
leverage, if you will, to make sure we definitely get some screening, because,
Yeah, it's not an attractive look right now.
no, it's not too attractive looking. Which I did talk, we kind of talked, which again, Citizens Academy the other night, which I think is important in terms of like solar. So there's a big push for solar, but there's no disincentive, if you will, to take a wooded piece of property and strip it out. They've gotten so much latitude, solar companies, to we need solar, which is, I understand the big picture, but
To clear cut a piece of property.
there's no disincentive to clear cut. Now, finally, I will say right now, they are working on some siting guidelines to hopefully kind of reverse a little bit, but it just fundamentally just doesn't seem
Didn't
right.
we have some guidelines before that you couldn't cut, you had to leave a certain percentage of trees, you couldn't clear cut a piece of property?
No, you can clear cut it. That's the thing. So solar is protected under the zoning act, so they have
No limitations
they have latitude, much more.
to putting up a house, yeah.
Is the town of Norfolk getting any, revenue or incentives for the solar that they're installing there, or no?
So we get a little bit in terms of, so there are, some of the panels are on the water department property, so there's the lease payment. I'm not sure exactly what that amounts to, but the only
I
other.
mean, like on the project that they're doing on 115 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up just by the tank, there's some lease payment because that panel's there. The town gets the taxes that are
Yeah.
from the land, and then the panels have a personal property tax. But there isn't any other incentive in terms of going to the towns, unlike the panels over at the landfill, which,
So just to follow up on that, if you could get those numbers to Amanda, because I promised that woman at our Citizens Academy that we would get her the numbers about what are the income that we're getting from the solar panels that are there.
all right, I'll have to
We'll work together.
Well, yeah.
We'll work on that tomorrow, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. She wanted for Thursday?
Yeah, I just wanted, I made a
Yeah.
promise, so
Okay, all
I'm
right.
gonna keep that promise.
So, we talked about, there are
We'll
some,
talk about the sewer.
yeah, we could talk about the sewer. I want to talk about a couple of the commercial developments.
Sure.
So, we have seen a few, I'll call it contractor buildings up on Shire and then Sharon's Way. You know, they have their supplies there, and then they disperse out of there. But two of them, which were going to be leased up for general, contractors to keep their supplies, their vehicles, and so forth. One is going to be a parkour, so the one right behind the Gulf gas station. So parkour, I forget the exact name, but they're relocating. I think they're from in Easton, maybe. They're going to be operating out of. You familiar with parkour?
Yeah,
Okay,
cool,
good.
that'll be fun.
Yeah, so they're going to lease that whole space and they're going to operate out of there as parkour. So it's kind of interesting use. I think there's, the value, I mean, there is a pass-through, I would think, right? Because, people go there and do parkour and hopefully grab a bite to eat or whatever. So that's,
3 restaurants right there.
there's 3 restaurants, so
The only
that's kind of,
three- the only 3 in town are right there, but.
yep, they're all right there. And then up the hill, which was 8 Sharon's Ave, which was I guess was a former restaurant at one point. It's a house.
Yeah.
That is going to be leased up as a indoor baseball.
Oh, nice.
So some of these larger buildings that flex space, they are not all just general contract. So I was kind of excited to see something like that because we just kept getting more general contract space is good, those new buildings, but as you probably talk about, which I'll segue to sewer, right? So sewer is kind of the driver in a lot of these different develops in terms of development options and flexibility. So I applied for federal matching funds through the state. So as you recall, we got the congressional earmark, $959,000.
Did we actually get it? Did it come?
So the way it works, it hasn't been clawed back, so that's the good news.
Good.
Okay, I did confirm that. Of course, obviously, we're in the middle of shutdown right now,
Right.
so that's kind of the bad news. But it's a reimbursement, so what we need to do is, it was an 80-20, so we need to come up with 20% match to that 80%. I just applied at the end of September through the state. They have a federal FFOI, I think it's called, Federal Fund Opportunity Infrastructure. So there's a grant essentially that they would fund 20%, to go after federal dollars. So I applied at the end of September. My understanding is that we probably should know within another month and a half. It's a request of $240,000. So if we get, which I feel.
So that will bring it up to the 1.2.
We'll bring it up to 1.2 million, which would be fantastic, right? So far, we actually we've come a long ways with little taxpayer dollars into this project, so it's kind of pretty exciting.
Now, have we heard anything from this was to connect down to the prison sewer,
The
right?
prison, yes, so I reached back, and with Mike, we reached back out to the DOC, and it's moved a little bit further up the chain of authority in terms of the Department of Corrections to get them to, it's kind of, there was changeover in personnel here and there, and so we had a meeting a few weeks ago now and said, look, this is where we're at. So you need to do a study to see if it's feasible to connect to the prison. Like, we know. We're pretty well aware that we need to do that. But what we would like is that if it's feasible, we'd have to pay for it in some way, otherwise off the cherry sheet, whatever, pay as a user, but we support that. So we still have support from them to pursue that further. So that's real positive in that regard. And the reason why I'm more excited, I think generally we should be excited about it, is because their discharge is to the Stop River, and because it's a a water discharge as opposed to groundwater, which I talked about before as a Pagos treatment plant, the flow that we would need to go to discharge to that plant really kind of expands our opportunity in terms of, so for instance, let's say it's 40,000 gallons a day. It's almost, not quite double, but you're really kind of, almost double the opportunity, a flow, because it's a different daily maximum load. It's kind of engineer, well, but anyway, that was exciting, which I learned from the engineers. So that would put us in good position, because I talked about the zoning, but still at the end of the day, that sewer is really important for town center.
Huge.
It's huge.
So that would allow us to run pipes from center of town to the prison, discharge into
Exactly.
Stop River.
Yeah,
Okay.
would be enormous.
And is that the 1.2 enough, or do we need additional funding to do that?
We might, I suspect we might need more money. But
Is there any way we can get a guesstimate from a contractor or something to see how much it would cost to go down there?
once they get into that engineering,
Yeah.
once they get into that study phase, then we'll get an idea what the cost would be. The positive news, I think, for us in terms of funding is that, we did vote the MBTA. And because we've done that, there's that MassWorks pot of money out there that we can chase. So our door is open, our opportunities are open to be able to chase more money to make this happen. So that's what's even more exciting about it. Because really the objective all along was to try to make it feasible and not have to, put it on the backs of betterment payments to be able to make it, because it would be very expensive. But, so I think we'll probably need, obviously, we'll pursue outside funding, but with the MBTA there, and I think the support from the DOC, would be in better shape, because we did apply last year for MassWorks money to do some pre-engineering, and we weren't funded, and the main reason we weren't funded, we really didn't have advanced discussions with DOC to say, hey, they are vested with us, so we've done that now, so we're in better shape in that regard. So the last thing I want to touch on is the Metacomet Greenway. It's been I think I told you, probably, we'll just refresh. We're guinea pigs in terms of we apply for the design pilot. Well, we're definitely been guinea pigs in trying to get all the contracts in place. We're finally there, so we should start to see some engineering work done this year. It was a new program through the state, and then there's a federal piece, then there's a state piece, and it was just, but we're succeeding,
Excellent.
so I'm
It'll be an
excited.
asset for our community.
Yeah.
We're going to hear from people about the moonscape out here. Can you talk briefly about
The moonscape?
the empty land out here that there's no development on?
Yeah. We kind of,
There's nothing, can you just summarize for people who don't know?
Is that what we just talked about, Meeting House, or no? That's different.
no,
That's different.
I call Liberty and Main Street.
Oh,
the-
yes,
right,
so
like
yes, I
that.
do want to hear about one
Yeah.
too.
We haven't really had, honestly, really a cooperative property owner that's willing to price it to go in terms of the be able for somebody to develop it. They have.
They're asking too much for the lease. I see the big sign out there now for lease, but.
Where was that sign? Was it on this piece over here? I'm
Yeah.
trying-
Yeah, it just popped up recently, right?
Okay.
I didn't see it before.
Yeah. Well, they were trying to package it. They were actually trying to sell Walgreens and the pizzeria and with the other piece across the street, kind of as a package deal. It's just, it's priced too high,
Okay.
so we're,
So now it's for lease, so maybe the lease is more reasonable.
maybe. I would hope so. But you really need to have somebody who's really creative in terms of, design, so it's done well, because it's
Right there.
right there.
Yeah.
A poor design and we'll be not happy for years to come, but, so hopefully we can,
Because if it stays empty, we'll be so happy for years to come.
Yeah, that's all I hear about when I talk to people. What is happening in the middle of town?
Well, you can always say, the takeaway is this. This development happens by private investment. So private developers have to make those investments. They have to be feasible to be able to make it work, right, financially. And if they can't, it's not going to happen because, some towns have buildings with empty spaces and then you can.
I try to explain to people, they say, well, we don't have enough commercial business. I says, well, that's because every other town has a main 109, 140, 1A, all these towns that go right through the town. We don't really have that much traffic or to support the businesses, the people to support the businesses. That's the problem.
No, and that.
And we don't have septic. I mean, we don't have sewer, so
Yeah,
then
that's the-
they hear septic.
Rich has almost got
He's-
that problem
it's
cured, so,
Practically
yeah.
done. Yes, practically.
I wouldn't come away tonight saying that, but high optimism, yes. And, the sewers, because that's part of the problem with some of these property owners, because, it certainly happened over where, on Rockwood Road. I mean, they have an old septic system. They can't really upgrade, so.
I know Wayside across the street there, they need it.
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts, and so if you get them three want to tie into it almost immediately.
Right, and across, where NCTV is, the pizzeria, is, the
Right, yeah.
same thing. It's, because these are old, their buildings were built pre-title, so.
So I guess the larger question then is, so we have the master plan, and it's a great plan, but
Oh, you
how do we move that forward? Because a lot of the things we're talking about were addressed in the master plan. So I guess it sits with the planning board right now. Is there like a champion? Is there somebody? I mean, you talked about a lot of things that are in motion
Yeah.
that are tied to that plan.
Yeah, so
But I'm just curious as to like who's the lead in making sure
The whole
the master
problem,
plan.
you got to
goes-
get the private money in here interested in building the commercial space.
So in the master plan, there is the action plan that
Yeah.
delegates who's responsible for so forth and so on. I did talk about the planning board meeting last week, so I'm meeting this week with Melissa, who's one of the planning board members, and we're going to be talking about it. Excuse me, in terms of, many towns have implementation committees.
Right.
It's kind of a variety. So some towns, select board puts together the implementation committee and then conjunction with the planning board, or it's just a plan. So we're gonna kind of map out some options and then come forward with a kind of a plan
Okay.
to proceed forward. And then in terms of who will be on the committee and the purpose of it, and then who may sit on it too.
Yeah, well, I signed up to be the liaison for the master plan, so please include me whenever you get to that point. But that's nice to hear that you guys are putting that together.
Yeah, because we actually, I know you had talked about it at the previous meeting, and so I brought it up, and so it's on there, put it higher on their to-do list. So meet with Melissa. So I think we could, come back later in the year with kind of
Plan.
recap of where we're at.
Well,
with
let
it.
us know if you want somebody to join you in that meeting.
Yeah,
We'd be happy to join.
okay.
But this is great progress. Thank you for sharing all this.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Hopefully by the end of the year, you can tell us the sewer's all set.
Oh, yes, by December, right?
No, I'll give them to next June. I mean, I don't want to rush it.
Well, I would, near term, I'd love to come back and say, hey, we were awarded that $240,000 grant.
That's only a month away, so yeah, you can do that by
So
December.
if we get that, that's enormous, because now we've we've got the money together to proceed with that study, which we would definitely do once we get that, so,
Awesome.
all right.
Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
Yep, no problem.
Thanks, Rich.
Tell your daughter we say hi. Awesome, that leaves us to number 8, updates.
I have nothing tied, Madam Chair. I'm not prepared to.
That's all right. I have things.
Just a couple. You
Only
get
a
one.
couple- I only have a couple things. So just for the people watching, our Norfolk Citizens Academy is underway. We've had 3 meetings so far. The first meeting was town government. The second meeting was our fire department. And last Thursday, we had land use, which included our Board of Health, our building, the building department, and affordable housing. And so if you're interested in that, I'm sure you're very interested, you can go to the town website. You can go down to the button that says Your Town at Work. work and click on that, you'll see the Citizens Academy. You can watch the movies at home. You can click on all the handouts at home. So this is what your government does for you. So we'd be happy to have you check in and do that. This Thursday, we're hearing from our finance department, and we're have a really engaged group of citizens participating, and we're very, very pleased. Also, I wanted to let you know that the pre-town meeting, last year we got some feedback from folks that at town meeting, while all questions are answered, sometimes the pace of town meeting is pretty fast. The issues are complicated. They asked for an opportunity to ask questions about the warrant before town meeting. So that's what our pre-town meeting is. It will be at Freeman Kennedy on November 5th at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock? 7
p.m.
At 7 o'clock at Freeman Kennedy. It will be recorded, but it will not be live. It will not be available live for folks, but there's a place on the website or are we supposed to email in questions?
Emailing.
Email Amanda if you have, you can see her address on our website. If you have questions you want us to answer at that meeting, but questions specifically to the warrant, to the 14 articles that are on the warrant. And so that pre-town meeting is for you, the citizens, so please bring your questions or concerns about items on the warrant. And then on November 12th, we're having our town meeting, a special town. This is the special town meeting, and that's at King Philip Middle School, like it usually is. That will be taped, but as a town meeting form of government, this is the executive branch, but the legislative branch is you. So you have to come and vote, and you are part of the government of the town of Norfolk. So please join us at the town meeting on November 12th at the King Philip Middle School, beginning at 7 o'clock. We need you. You're important in the decision-making process. And that's all I have.
Wonderful.
I just have a
Yes,
few.
go ahead.
So I visited the senior center, I believe it was last week. It seems like a long time ago now. It was last week. I had a great conversation with some folks there, and we talked about a number of things, and they had questions about, some things that concerns they raised about funding. I hope I addressed all the questions, but it was a great group, and it was so nice to just spend some time with them. So, and I know like Anita mentioned, Citizens Academy has been up and running, so thank you all who are participating in that. I think it's going well, and as Anita mentioned, all the information is up on the website, on the town website, so if you missed it or you're not able to participate, it's all there for you. But one thing actually that the seniors did raise that I spoke to was in regards to town meeting, transportation. Because our town meetings are at night, it's dark, some of our seniors don't drive. There was at one point, I believe there is actually a bus that's owned by the senior center, and one of the major challenges is just getting a bus driver, an operator. But they have someone, but the person is not available, I guess, nights when we have our town meeting. So I just want to raise that here as maybe something we can think about as a select board, because we have some residents that would love to be engaged, but they just can't get to the meeting. And it sounds
We
like
could
we
talk to
have a
Holmes.
vehicle and we don't have a driver, which seems like a really easy problem
I
to
wonder
solve.
if somebody at Holmes would be willing. We could reach out to Tim and see.
Yes, and I believe they also have the funds too for the driver. They just don't have an actual driver. So if we could help with that, I think that would, I think that would be a welcome thing that we can do.
Awesome.
Yeah. Mike, did you have something?
Yeah, Madam Chair, through you, I'm not sure of the size of the bus. Depending on the size of the bus would require certain license to operate. I'll look into that.
Yeah, okay.
I actually am meeting with the director sometime this week. So
Okay.
when we have that discussion, we'll talk about that. You may not be able to drive it with
Well, no, she was going to talk to Holmes, that has a bus company that has a driver with a bus license, so they can drive whatever size bus. It is only a 14 passenger, but I do realize you need a bus license, so yes.
Yeah.
So maybe Tim knows somebody who'd be willing to work at night. That would be great.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a solvable thing that we can help with and
Yep.
hopefully get some more people to town meeting, which will be great.
That would be great.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Awesome. Any updates, Kevin?
Nope.
Awesome. So that leaves us to the warrants. I would accept a motion to approve the warrants as listed in the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. And the minutes.
Sure. I would like to move to approve the meeting minutes for September 22nd, 2025, and October 6th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Second. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we're ready to get out of here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank